So that was task number 2, which was a very, very easy task. And now things start getting a little bit tougher. So task number 3 is called tricking John Doe. For this task, the scenario is in the target machine, we have a Node.js API running, listening on port 3000. And this Node.js API is talking to a MySQL database. Okay. And what we need to do is we need to trick this Node.js API to try to obtain information from the database. And here I explain a few things. So when you send a GET request to /user/ and then an ID. So for example, 1, the Node.js the Node.js API talks to MySQL database and retrieves a username corresponding to that ID. And this is a sample of how the table looks like. So we have the ID of the user, we have the username, we've got the password, and then we've got a salt. So we need to obtain these things here. Going back to the terminal, if I do target dojo 3000 and then user/1, that returns John Doe, which is purely the username. In order for us to do this task, we're gonna have to take a look at the code so we understand. And so this is the Node.js code. If I go to index.js, okay, so this is the code. So very simple. So we just connect to MySQL database, and then here is the GET for the user ID. And you can see that we just basically do a select from a table called users, where the ID is whatever we get. And the dangers of this thing here is that we're not checking, of course, that this was purposely done like this. You wouldn't do it, and if you're running your own website, software, etc. But basically, we're not checking if it's an actual number, which means that I can pass anything I want, and it's just gonna put it there for me and send to the database. Yeah, so this is what they call the SQL injection. Yeah, this is a very simple scenario, but that's how it works. Ideally, we would like to check the type of the ID coming to make sure it's a number, but we're not doing this, so we can exploit somehow. Now, one thing that we need to do, we just need to take a look at this and understand how we can trick this query to return to us something else that that the API is not designed to return. If we take a look at down here, we have a results for each. So it sends the query to the database, and when it gets it back, it goes through each one of them, and then first it checks if there is a username, and if there is a username, it returns that username, and that's why we saw John Doe here. But well, let's see how we can try to trick this. Before I do anything, I'm just gonna jump into the database. I'll show you something. We got it right. Okay. So if I do show databases, I have the pentest database. So I can use pentest and show the tables, and I have the user. Let me do this. It's gonna be better. Now, if I do a select all from users, that's gonna return, what we're looking for. So this I'm just showing you now, but like during the dojo, people didn't have access to this, so they wouldn't be able to know. They had to figure it out. But I'm just showing this what we're gonna have to do. So if I run a single query like that, just put a semicolon at the end. What I can do now is to run another query. So I can run 2 queries at the same time in a single command. All I need to do is to put semicolon there, and then I can run another query, like for example, select ID from users where ID equals 1. And you see that returns 2 things for us. First, it returns, that's the first query, that's the second query. So that's what we're gonna have to do actually in our, let's say, go back here. So we see that we have where ID is equal to something. So we're gonna pass 1, okay, because we don't want to break the query, of course. But then we're gonna put a semicolon in our request and pass another query. So then what's gonna happen is that we're gonna have 2 queries instead of just 1. Okay, let me go back to the Kali Linux machine. I'm gonna clear this. So basically, if I do curl target.dojo 3000 user 1, so that returns John Doe for us. But what I'm gonna do now is, let me just put a quotes, nothing breaks. And like I said, I need to put a semicolon, right? So this is part of a single command. And I'm just gonna write whatever I want. In this case, I wanna get the password and the salt. Okay. So if I'm gonna do select, I would do password like, oh wait, password like this with space. But the problem that we can't have space. Yeah. Instead of having space, I'm gonna have percentage 20. Oops, let me bring it. Percentage 20. So percentage 20, when I send this request, that's gonna translate into space to the Node.js API. So I'm gonna select the password and I'm gonna do from. So I need another space. Let me just copy this. It's gonna be easier for me. Select the password from first space users. All uppercase users. Whoa, wait. Users like this. All right. Actually, like that. Users and then semicolon. Let's see what I get. I'm still not getting anything. And the reason why I'm not getting anything is because this is returning just as password. And if you take a look at the code, it actually searched for username. So in the query, it's going to return password, but it doesn't see username. That's why it's not actually returning to us. So I'm going to have to kind of fake it and say that, my password is actually a username. What I can do is I can do select password. And I need another space. Oops. It again. So select password as username. Wait, let's try that. Try that again. So select password. Let's be here. Select password as username from users. All right. So there you go. Now we can see that we not only got our John Doe back, which is username, but we actually got the password back. Okay. And what else we need to do here is the salt. So I have basically 3 queries. I'm getting the username. I'm getting the password with the second query. Now I need a third query to get the salt. Let me pull it up again. And I have my semicolon, and I'm just gonna do the same thing. So select space, and I want salt space as username, and then username from users. And there it is. Now I've got the username, I've got the password, and I've got the salt. So that's how we would trick our API if the API wasn't properly done, right? That's how we would trick into executing more SQL statements that it's actually expecting to execute. Now we have the password and the salt. Going back to the challenge, let's see what we need to do next. So after we obtain, now we're gonna try to crack this password. Yeah. So this is usually, if you hear that hackers, they obtain password from database, etc. Passwords are usually hashed, right? So they're not stored as plain text. They're usually hashed. And to make things even tougher, they have a salt. Yeah. So basically, they get the user password, they put a salt either in front of it or at the end of it, and generate the hash, and then store the hash. So what we need to do here is to try to crack this.